Pleasant good evening from the nation's capital. Welcome to King's Newsroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and elsewhere. I'm Stephen Compton. First, the headlines. Ministry of National Defense launches 5 years strategic plan aimed at maintaining Liberia's peace and enhancing regional security. Grain Coast Annual Conference of the Global Methodist Church urges the Liberian government to take full responsibility of the medical bills of the 14-year-old boy who was allegedly sodomised by former NSA Sion official Peter Bon Jala. Away from Liberia, at least 7 Ugandan opposition supporters were killed overnight in disputed circumstances as the Cuban President Museveni has taken a strong lead in results from Thursday presidential elections. Details of these developments, the news bulletin, and the voices of the news makers are all packaged. We are taking a very short break to be right back. Welcome back. Up next is the Bulletin of News with Sam Andrews.
The Ministry of National Defense has launched its 5-year strategic plan at maintenance of peace, enhancing security, and providing peace regionally and continentally. The strategic plan, which was launched under the theme Securing Peace, Advancing Resilience, and Maintaining Inclusive Development, is divided into 4 pillars. Speaking at the opening of the launching ceremony, Deputy Minister for Operations at the Ministry of National Defense, Spencer Lika, described the plan as a roadmap for transformation, and it is a statement of intent. According to Minister Liko, the plan is a demonstration of the commitment of the Ministry of National Defense to the Liberian people to protect and defend the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country. The Deputy Minister explained that the strategic plan is in line with the security protocols of the West African Regional Organization ECOWAS and the continental body, the African Union. The United Methodist Human Rights Monitor has commended the Liberia National Police for swiftly apprehending a ranking officer of the National Security Agency, James Bon Jala, for allegedly sodomizing a 14-year-old boy. The Monitor's program director, Jefferson Knight, is encouraging the judicial branch of the government to speedily adjudicate the case so as to send a clear message to others in the country. Addressing a press conference at a local hotel in Congo Town, Jefferson Knight said, "A lot of people in recent times have embarked on raping children and sodomizing young boys simply because of their connection and closeness to the power that be." According to Mr. Knight, the high rate of rape in the country is troubling because it has the propensity to damage the future of the victims and create health problems. The West African Regional Conference of the United Methodist Church has begun a 3-day deliberation aimed at combating the spread of dangerous drugs in West African region. Speaking in an interview with Kings FM, the director at Youth at Risk Department at Liberia Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church, Reverend Caleb Edoma, disclosed that the deliberation is intended to draw roadmap and harness the resources of UMC churches in West Africa in combating the increase in the importation and abuse of drugs in the region. According to Reverend Doma, the deliberation brought together 30 participants from the United Methodist Churches at Rick's Youth Decks in West Africa. The discussion, which is expected to end on Saturday, is sponsored by the General Conference of the United Methodist Church. The Grand Coast Annual Conference of the Global Methodist Church of Liberia has called on the government to ensure that adequate medical care is provided. The 15-year-old boy who was allegedly sodomized by former NSA senior officer Peter Bonjala. The former NSA official was charged by the Liberia National Police and sent to court. Speaking in an interview with reporters in Monrovia, the superintendent of Global Methodist Church, Dr. Jerry Kula, condemned the act, describing it as an act of witchcraft, and called on the government to assume full responsibility for the victims' treatment. The director of the African Studies at the University of Illinois, Urbana Champion, has described the Liberia National Archives as a national continental and global treasure. He commended the institution for what he described as exceptional progress in the preservation and organization of historical documents since 2018. According to him, the Liberian National Archive holds immense value for Liberian and the Black world. Medical professionals of the armed forces of Liberia have joined counterparts from Ghana, Italy, and the United States, demonstrating their medical proficiency at the U.S. Army Southern European Task Force Africa Best Medic competition in Italy. The airfare team delivered what has been termed as outstanding performance, resulting to all 4 Liberian competitors winning the U.S. Army Achievement Medal. The honor was recognized. The honorees were recognized for exceptional performance and service that exceed standard duty requirements. Aggrieved workers of the National Port Authority, through the Dock Workers Union, have petitioned President Boakai to veto the bill proposing autonomy to Liberia's ports. According to them, the proposed legislation will have adverse consequences for long-term sustainability and coordinated management of the country's port. In their petition, the union described the bill as counterproductive to port development, arguing it is not supported by any evidence that can justify such a significant policy shift. They maintain the legislation fails to adequately consider the substantial operational and financial resources required to develop and maintain the ports nationwide. The Liberia Council of Churches has condemned the alleged sodomy and gang rape of a 14-year-old boy by NSA officer Peter Bonjala. Speaking at a press conference in Monrovia, FCC Secretary General Christopher Toole described the act as a grave criminal offense and a gross violation of the victim's fundamental rights to life and dignity. Christopher Toe stated such action constitutes a clear breach of Liberia's constitution as well as the country's international obligations, which require the state to prevent, investigate, and prosecute acts of sexual violence. Nima County Senator Yan Tuan has criticized the mineral development agreement between the Liberian government and ArcelorMittal Liberia, describing the deal as fundamentally flawed and detrimental to national interest. It has failed to deliver meaningful and lasting benefits for the Liberian people. The MDA signed in 2005 was intended to regulate ArcelorMittal Liberia's operations within the country's mining sector. A high-level delegation from the United States Millennium Challenge Corporation is in Liberia, engaging government officials and civil society organizations on the way forward for a second MCC compact. Speaking at the meeting, Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Gaffwan said the Liberian people are grateful for the renewed MCC compact. He has shown the government's commitment to translating what he termed public optimism into tangible development outcomes for the country. Former Bong County representative and former senatorial candidate Edward Kafia has urged students of the United Methodist University Banga campus to see themselves as active shepherds of society and lead with purpose, character, and courage. He urged the students to stand as a pivotal movement in history where, according to him, rapid global changes present both significant challenges and unique opportunities. Edward Kafia emphasized that young people are not passive observers of events, but key architects of what lies ahead. And the newly established advocacy group, Citizens United for Fair and Improved Electoral Services in Nima County, has accused the Liberian government and private electricity providers of systemic neglect, exploitation, and prioritizing elite interests over the broader public welfare. The group, which comprises residents, small business owners, youth leaders, and civil society actors from across Nima County, made the allegations during a press conference held at Ganta Youth Center. Speaking on behalf of the organization, Chairman Prince Howard emphasized that access to electricity is a fundamental public service, not a privilege. He stressed that reliable power supply is a basic necessity that should be made available to all citizens. Howard alleged that the chief executive officer of the electricity distribution company enjoys uninterrupted 24-hour electricity at Jackie Resort, a private commercial establishment, while surrounding communities continue to experience prolonged power outage. As part of its demand, the group issued a 30-day ultimatum to the Liberian government, the Liberia Electricity Regulatory Commission, Liberia electricity provider, calling for the immediate suspension of the USD 1.50 expansion fee.
I'd like to say many thanks to Sam Andrews for the bulletin of news. He's a regular feature on King's Newsroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one globe. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you voices of the news makers. Welcome back and thanks for rejoining us. Up to this first development now, the Green Coast Annual Conference of the Global United Methodist Church, the Methodist Church in Liberia has called on the government to ensure that adequate medical care is provided to the 14-year-old boy who was allegedly sodomized by former NSA senior officer Peter Bon Jara. The former NSA official was charged by the Liberia National Police and forwarded to court in connection to the alleged act. Meanwhile, speaking in an interview with reporters in Monrovia, the superintendent of the Global Methodist Church, Reverend Dr. Jerry Kula, condemned the alleged act, describing it as an act of witchcraft, and urged the Liberian government to assume full responsibility for the victims' medical care. We hope to bring you that episode subsequently. And now to this development, aggrieved workers of the National Port Authority through the Dock Workers Union has formally petitioned President Joseph Boakai to veto a bill proposing to grant autonomy to Liberia's ports. According to them, the proposed legislation could have various consequences for the long-term sustainability and coordinated management of the country's port system. In the petition, the union described the bill as counterproductive to the port development, arguing that it is not supported by any evidence that can justify such a significant policy shift.
There's a bill right now, His Excellency Joseph Human Boakai, to sign into law the autonomous act of the National Port Authority that says that all the ports of Liberia that make up the National Port Authority should be separately autonomous to operate from their own angle, the secretary management and the rest of them. So that's the reason we are here, because this autonomous act is supposed to be something beneficiary to the already employee of the National Port Authority. But for research, we've got to realize that this bill is not beneficiary, and as a matter of fact, coming from the angle of just mere political maneuver, it benefits few handfuls of people who feel that this structure will make morale. So very, very directly, so generally to the bill. And we can be putting articles to you right now. But what we're referring to here is that the bill by itself is not in the interest of the workforce. If we separate the code now it means that the revenue generation of the National Port Authority will reduce because, let me be frank with you, the Port of Buchanan generates money, but the Port of Sano is not generating much money as compared to the Port of Buchanan and the Port of Monrovia, Freeport. And the Maryland port is now also generating money as compared to the two ports, Buchanan and the rest of them. So if you say they should separate now and be autonomous on their own, it means that Sano is a dust in the very shortest possible time. Maryland is a dust in the shortest possible time. If you want to maintain there, it means you will hang there on one of the two ports, either with Buchanan or with Monrovia port. Of course, it means that if Monrovia says no, we want to be on our own autonomously, definitely what it means is that you cut off employment opportunity in Maryland and Sano respectively.
And now back to this development. The Green Coast Annual Conference of the Global Methodist Church in Liberia has called on the government to ensure that adequate medical care is provided to the 14-year-old boy who was allegedly sodomized by former NSA senior officer Peter Bon Jala. The former NSA officer was charged by the Liberia National Police and forwarded to court in connection to the alleged act. Meanwhile, speaking in an interview with reporters in Monrovia on Friday, the superintendent of the Global Methodist Church, Reverend Dr. Jerry Kulai, condemned the alleged act, describing it as an act of witchcraft and urged the Liberian government to assume full responsibility of the victim's medical treatment.
Post-annual conference of the Global Methodist Church of Liberia condemns this at the highest degree because it's unchristian, it's unbiblical, it's sinful, it's demonic. The Bible tells us in Leviticus chapter 18, verse 20 to 22, that it's an abomination for a man to sleep with a man as he sleeps with a woman, vice versa. And the Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9, that homosexuals will go to hell. There are several other sins, but this one is in a lamb-like. That is the reason why I'm mentioning it as it is. But this is very demonic. And so we are praying that the government will take siege of this situation and bring the perpetrators to both, all three of them, because we are hearing that allegedly there were three persons who sodomized one person, a 15-year-old boy. This is nothing short of witchcraft. This is nothing short of a demonic act. And so we condemn this and we want government to act speedily. It's an attack against the entire Christian community. It's an attack against the entire nation. So we expect the Burka government to take siege of this situation as soon as possible and deal with it and ensure that this boy's life is saved. If he has to travel out of the country for his anus to be treated very well so that he heals, because he's still young. He's just 15 years old. His tissues are all very strong. They're still reproducing very fast. And so he can recover. But this situation must be addressed speedily because this family have been ruined. Their son, for whom God has a future, is being ruined by wicked people in our society. The police have already arrested this one Peter Bono Jala person who we understand is a high-ranking officer in the NSA, a security-minded person who should be providing security for the low children in the community. And he can be the one to be used by Satan to try to destroy his child's life. It means that there is something that is in many places in our society that the government need to arrest.
And also, the United Methodist Human Rights Monitor has commended the Liberia National Police for swiftly apprehending a ranking officer of the National Security Agency. The Monitor's program director, Jefferson Naft, is therefore encouraging the judiciary branch of the Liberian government to speedily adjudicate the case so as to send a clear message to others in the country.
Not surprised, because this is a trend within our society where government officials and other big sharks have been allegedly in the business of raping and sodomizing young people in our country for their own selfish benefit. So we're shocked that a security expert will be involved in such act. It was so disappointing. So we want to use this opportunity to condemn such act, and we also commend the police for its swift intervention by ensuring that this perpetrator is arrested and will be prosecuted within the confines of our law. That is why we continue to say these officials of government, because they feel they have power, because they feel they have the money and they have the contact, the connections. So most of them will want to do things against the very laws that continue to uphold the democratic tenets of our country and moving forward. That's why they will do things contrary to our laws and feel that they will go unpunished without any prosecution or whatsoever and what have you. But again, we're watching. The civil society organizations, human rights organizations, the churches are watching. We serve as a moral voice of moral conscience of the society. And we all Liberians, we all need to come together and condemn such acts and ensure that these kinds of things are not happening with our country, because these young people are the future leaders. Some of us were young people tomorrow, and today we're serving as future leaders. We are here now. We are in the ring. And those other young people who are aspiring, who are coming after us, cannot be destroyed by people who were considered as future leaders today, and today they are the future leaders. And they want to destroy the next generation of leaders that are coming up. This is evil, is demonic, and we're calling on all well-meaning Liberians to condemn such act and ensure that individual prosecuted, and we don't want for nothing to be swept under the carpet because of power or because he's in authority and has money, so he should go free. No, we will ensure that this case is monitored, is followed appropriately, so that the right legal steps and action can be taken that will serve as a deterrent, so that we'll be officials of government who feels that they are in power, they are in authority, they have money, and want to use those at the disadvantage of Liberians.
Half an hour past the news presentation, there's a reminder that you are following the Friday, January 16, 2026 edition of King's Newsroom. We are taking a very short break. To be right back. Welcome back, and thanks for being there. Up next, the Ministry of National Defense has officially launched its 5-year strategic plan aimed at maintaining Liberia's peace and enhancing regional security. The strategic plan, which was launched under the theme Securing Peace and Advancing Resilience and Maintaining Inclusive Development, is driven into 4 pillars. Speaking at the opening of the launching ceremony, the Deputy Minister for Operations at the Ministry of National Defense, Spencer Leko, described the plan as a roadmap for transformation, and it is a statement of intent.
It's a roadmap for transformation. It is a statement of intent, and above all, it is a commitment to the Liberian people that the safety and sovereignty of the state remain paramount to the Ministry of National Defense. The purpose of this program is fourfold. First, to formally present the strategic plan for the ministry for 2026 to 2030 as a guiding framework for defense policy, institutional reform, and operational readiness over the next 5 years. Second, to communicate clearly our strategic priorities, strengthen force capability, improve command and control systems, enhance logistics and infrastructure, advance personnel welfare and professional development, and deepen civil-military relations. Third, to allow stakeholders, government institutions, development partners, and civil society around the shared vision for a modern, accountable, and mission-ready defense sector. And fourth, to signal our transition from planning to execution, from vision to action, and from policy to performance. With the guide of the Minister of National Defense, we are committed to translating these plans into action for the improvement and stability of our country. This launch begins a new chapter, one defined by strategy, clarity, and institutional strength.
A high-level delegation from the United States-based Millennium Challenge Corporation is in Liberia to engage government officials and civil society organizations in discussions on the way forward for a second MCC compact. Speaking at a meeting held in Monrovia on Thursday, the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Augustine Gaffwan, said Liberians are grateful for the renewed MCC engagement. He assured that the government of Liberia is committed to translating this public optimism into tangible development outcomes for the country.
The entire government, the people of Liberia, are excited about MCC, and we, at the level of the government, will do our part to translate their excitement into tangible outcomes for this country. Now that we've been reconfirmed, it's like the job starts. It's a very long road. It's a road that will require effort, hard work, and what I call a whole government approach to achieving the outcomes. You've come so as to take us further. Liberia is elated to see you again. Reassure is that we are going to quicken our paces so that the compact development process, which could last as long as 2 years, could be shortened based on what we do. We had a good conversation with you and the team after the reaffirmation on some of the next steps. And so your visit is the next steps. You told us you were coming, and that this engagement will be January 15th. And on the day you're here. So you're moving meticulously with the next steps. And we assure you that we will be starting the process to recruit some of the personnel for the new MCC office. We send out vacancy notices, and the responses have been overwhelming. And so, working with all our partners and with you, we intend to expedite the process so that by February, the leadership can be in, and then we'll start to recruit others that we've targeted to recruit to build up the office as quickly as possible, because we want some manpower to be in by the time of the workshop, the deeper discussions in February. So what I want to say is that I know we have the discussion with all the sector colleagues. They will be on, but besides the Ministry of Finance, other sector police, of course, government have been working. We are just being the coordinator, working directly with you.
For her part, the managing director for Africa at the Millennium Challenge Corporation, Corey Munhaman, stated that the delegation will hold consultations with relevant government institutions and civil society organizations to gather broad-based input and better understanding the priority of the Liberian people.
We at MCC were extremely thrilled to see Liberia continue. We could hear cheers around the building. Everyone was just very, very happy to get where we are today. And as you said, Mr. Minister, this is really due to our shared history, to the very deep U.S.-Liberia partnership, and also to the success of the first MCC Compact, which was a very ambitious project, and MCC was very, very proud of these results. These are things that are very closely considered by MCC's Country's board of directors. So we're really happy to be here today. So as for our trip this week, are here to first meet with government stakeholders like you to discuss what the compact development process looks like. It is a long road. We are hoping to sign the compact within a 2-year time frame, which is very ambitious, but we're very confident that together we can get there. MCC compacts are based on very rigorous analysis, so we collect a lot of data to really understand what the constraints to growth are within a particular sector. We also do a lot of stakeholder consultation across the country, so not just working with government, but understanding the opinions of the private sector, of civil society, and of the Liberian people to understand what project would really unlock economic growth and investment in this country. So during this trip, we're going to be talking about some of the key milestones of compact development. As Mr. Minister said, the next one is a workshop that will take place later in February. We call it a root cause analysis. And what this means is within a particular constraint or sector, defining what are the problems within this sector and what are the causes of those concerns so that we can together develop projects in a compact that really address the true root causes of any problems or concerns within a sector. And we'll be getting a variety of perspectives of that workshop, again, not just government, but civil society and private sector. And then finally, I'd like to highlight again that this process of compact development is supported by MCC, but it's really driven by the team that's going to be set up. It's a country-led process and should be very collaborative so that the project that's designed meets the needs of the people of Liberia and of the country of Liberia.
Nema County Senator Yan Twine has openly criticized the Mineral Development Agreement between the government of Liberia and ArcelorMittal Liberia. Speaking at the Capitol building Thursday, Senator Twine expressed deep dissatisfaction with the agreement, arguing that it has failed to deliver meaningful and lasting benefits to the Liberian people.
The proposed amendment to the ArcelorMittal Mineral Development Agreement now before us is not a routine administrative exercise. It is a consequential restructuring of one of Liberia's most strategic concession agreements, and it demands sober and rigorous scrutiny. At first glance, the amendment is presented as a restated and consolidated agreement that merely incorporates prior amendments. In substance, however, it records a fundamental change in the identity of the principal owner. All rights and obligations are now being assigned from ArcelorMittal Switzerland AG to ArcelorMittal USA Liberia. A newly structured entity that operating across jurisdiction. The question now is, how can a change of company occur on December 9, 2025? And the MDA agreement is signed December 20, 2025, barely 11 days after. Who then was the government negotiating with? Is it ArcelorMittal Switzerland or ArcelorMittal USA? These unanswered questions create doubts about enforceability, accountability, and undue leverage under this agreement.
And on the way from home, at least 7 Ugandan opposition supporters were killed overnight in disputed circumstances as Cuban President Museveni has taken a scrutiny in results from Thursday's presidential election. The opposition say they were attacked by security forces in the home of an MP in Butalbalad, about 55 kilometers southeast of the capital Kampala, where police blame the violence on the opposition. Electoral figures so far put Museveni in front with 75% of the votes, and his main rival, Bobby Wine, on 21% based on return from 70% of polling stations. The U.S. Embassy has issued an alert because of report the security forces were using tear gas and firing into the air to disperse the gathering. Well, this is how we got home on today's edition of the news program. But before we take leave of you, reminder of top stories. We close the photo. Ministry of National Defense launches 5 years strategic plan aimed at maintaining Liberia's peace and enhancing regional security. Grand Coast Annual Conference of the Global Methodist Church urges the Liberian government to take full responsibility of the medical bills of the 14-year-old boy who was allegedly sodomized by former NSA senior official Peter Bonjala, and away from whom at least 7 Ugandan opposition supporters were killed overnight in disputed circumstances, as Cuban Museveni has taken a strong lead in results from Thursday's election. On this note, we'd like to say many thanks to our reporters and editors for making today's news presentation a success. Sam Andrews brought us the news bulletin. I'm Stevie Compton. Thanks for listening and watching.